Hey there, it's John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. You're going to notice as we go through the cards today, this is a pretty slow week for the market. This is one of those in-between weeks. We're coming off the hype of the new Standard Metagame and the Pro Tour, and we're starting to think about the future. Hour of Devastation, really not all that far away. So cards are starting to slow down in at least the pace of movement that we have been seeing. Now, even Modern is going to be a little soft because a lot of players are a little nervous about what's going to be in Iconic Masters. They don't want to bite the bullet and start spending $60, $70 for singles that potentially could be reprinted a few months down the road. So you're going to notice that in today's Market Watch for sure. Commander, however, continues to be pretty hot, and some of the hotter cards we're going to look at today are influenced by Commander, or at least one card influenced from the leaks we saw earlier in the week. So having said that, quickly before we get started, a couple ways to help support the channel if you check out the description below, one of which is our Amazon affiliate store. If you make any purchases from the store links, that could include the singles we see today or really anything, a small percentage will come back to help support the channel. Another way to support us is our Patreon page. You'll also find that linked below as well. Having said that, let's get into the cards. And we're going to begin, as we always do, with Standard and the cards that lost value this week. So we're going to see a couple different things here. We're going to see some of the cards that spiked off the Pro Tour hype starting to stabilize back down, and that's normal. And we're also going to see some of the cards still from Amonkhet that had a high price point coming out of the pre-release that still haven't performed to the level that some players expected. Coming in at number 5 is Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, down 94 cents to 24.25. Now, I said over the last week, actually I think 2 weeks, that I felt like Ulamog had hit its peak. And yes, it's in a very popular deck, being the Aetherworks deck. That deck is going to continue to be popular, assuming nothing gets banned from it going forward. But even so, there's just so many copies of this card out there that it can't possibly maintain a $25 price point. So we're starting to see the beginning of the snapback now. Coming in at number 4 is Nissa, Steward of Elements, down $1.05 to $11.55. Now, this is a card that maybe didn't perform quite up to some players' expectations coming out of the pre-release period, and the price tag reflects that now as it's starting to trend down. I will say this about the card, though. She's going to continue to drop. She never really found a strong foothold in Standard or anything like that, at least in this current meta. But once she gets down to maybe the $6, $8 mark, somewhere in there, I think she's a good pickup because she does have a long life ahead of her in the world of Standard, even post-rotation, and that could open up some more spots for her in the future. So she's still a very powerful card, still has a lot of potential to see play. If you can get her on the cheap somewhere down the road, not a bad idea to have some copies just in case you need her for a future build. Coming in number 3, Liliana, Death's Majesty, down $1.31 to $15.79. Now this one's kind of interesting because it does play around with zombies, which of course is one of the hottest archetypes right now in Standard, but copies of this card aren't really showing up in the winning decks. Sometimes you'll see a one of here and there, and that's all well and good, but it's not really as efficient as some of the other cards that are out there, especially at the 5-drop spot. So it kind of is what it is right now, but much like some of the other Planeswalkers, she could have some potential utility in the future, so she's definitely one to keep an eye on. Coming in number 2 is Relentless Dead, down $1.61 to $17.70. So again, another card that saw its peak around $20, $25 about 2 weeks ago now, starting to trend back down. Still a very popular card, showing up in all those mono-black zombie decks, all of those black-white zombie decks. Still going to see a lot of play going forward, but again, there's a lot of copies out there. Players are getting their copies, the price point's going down. And coming in at number 1 is Gideon of the Trials, down $2.26 to $15.27. So Gideon just keeps dropping. He's dropping actually pretty hard right now. And much like some of the other Planeswalkers on the list, not to say Gideon's never going to see play in a Standard meta, maybe even post-rotation this fall, but at least right now he didn't perform to some of the expectations when he came out of the pre-release period. Now, the thing with this card is it reminds me a lot of Chandra, Torture, Defiance in some ways. It was super hyped out of the pre-release. It was way overvalued. It came crashing down. It didn't do a whole lot for a while, but then it started to find its role, and it has a nice little utility role in some Standard decks as well as some Modern decks even. I feel like this card is very similar to that one. So as this card continues to go down in value over the course of the next few weeks, again, maybe it's a pickup when it gets down to around $10 or less because it does have some future utility potential. Alright, let's move on to the cards that gained value this week. Coming in number 5, Westphal Abbey, up 13 cents to 4.65. So not a huge increase here, but an indication that a lot of players are still picking up the pieces to those zombie decks. Number 4, Disallow, up 16 cents to 7.18. So again, you're not seeing huge increases this time on the standard side. Everything's stabilized down quite a bit, but Disallow still a great control card. Number 3, Sweltering Suns, up 25 cents to 2.97. This might be one of the more interesting stories on the list today. This is, of course, seeing standard play and different builds of control, as well as the all-powerful Temur Aetherworks deck right now. So because of that, it is going to trend up a little bit, even if it's only a quarter this week. But what surprises me about this card is it's seeing a little bit of modern play in decks like Titan Shift, as well as Boros Prison is running some copies of this sometimes. So it is seeing a little bit of play there, which I didn't expect due to the fact that I thought Anger of the Gods would kind of keep it out of the format. But some players are trying this with the cycling ability, to, I guess, to see how it works, and seems to be taking hold, at least in some decks. Coming in number 2 is Anointed Procession, up 46 cents to 4.49. Now again, not a huge increase here, but this increase is really more indicative of its play in the Commander format than it is in Standard. You see this occasionally show up in some French Standard decks, like the Abzan Token deck, but for the most part, this is really being driven by Commander. This is basically a color-shifted card of Parallel Lives, which is an $8-9 card, which slowly creeped up over time due to its utility in Commander. I don't really expect this card to be too much different, so I think if you can pick these up for under $5, it's probably a good pickup. And coming in at number 1 this week is Metallic Mimic, up 54 cents to 6.64. Well, of course, this card has been popular in those Mono Black Zombies decks, and because of that, it is increasing in value, but it is interesting to point out that our number 1 card that's increasing in value this week is only going up 54 cents in Standard. So everybody is in a holding pattern. I think they want to see what happens in a couple weeks here with the update to the banned and restricted list. All right, let's move on to Modern. And Modern's pretty slow this week too, you're going to notice, but there's a few interesting things to point out. Coming in at number 5 is Engineered Explosives, the original version from 5th Dawn, down $1.70 to $59.04. Now, I think this is a trend we're going to see over the course of the summer. Some of these modern staples that hit $60, $70, players are going to get real shy about picking these up, especially if they have not been reprinted in the last year or so, because they are potential fodder for Iconic Masters, and we're going to find out what's in that set this September. So you might see some softening of some of these cards like Engineered Explosives this summer. Coming in number 4, Bloom Tender, down $2.55 to $28.49. This card's continuing to trend down. It saw a pretty big spike about a month or two ago, back when Saffron Olive did a budget modern deck build, and it featured this card as one of the cards in it. But really what's keeping this card from completely crashing is its utility again in Commander. Commander really driving the market again this week. So yes, this card is going down. That's to be expected, but it's not going to completely crash because it does see play in that format. Coming in number 3, Fulminator Mage from Modern Masters 2015, down $2.65 to $31.86. So this card saw a pretty nice spike when it was revealed that it was not going to be in Modern Masters 2017, but it is softening now because partially is snapping back off the spike that we saw, but I can't count out the fact that, again, it's another card that was suspiciously absent from all the releases this year. Maybe it is an Iconic Master. Coming in at number 2 is Ancestral Vision, down $3.25 this week to $58. This is the Time Spiral version. Again, a card that was around the $65 price point just a few weeks ago. Still a very powerful and very popular card, but again, another card people are a little shy of picking up right now due to a potential reprint. And coming in at number 1, Chalice of the Void from Modern Masters, down $4.81 to $63.58. So you could make the same argument with this card. However, Chalice of the Void is one of those cards that simply seems to be more powerful than the fear of this card being reprinted. It's just seeing play in so many formats. Even though it's restricted in Vintage, it sees play there, seeing play in Legacy, seeing play in Modern. So there's a lot of players still trying to pick up this card. This version going down a little bit this week, but you're going to see in just a few moments, the Mirrodin version is actually going up. All right, let's look at those cards that are gaining value this week. Coming in number 5 is Academy Ruins, up $1.15 to $23.27. Not a big increase, but one of the key cards in Lantern Control. Coming in number 4, Blowfly Infestation, up $1.24 to $4.47. Another card being influenced by Commander, and yet another card from that Lorwyn Morningtide block, which had a very low print run in comparison to other sets around that time period. It was a time that there was a downswing in Magic, and a lot of these cards, even if they find limited play in formats like Commander, do tend to have some nice spikes sometimes. Of course, right now, -1/-1 counters are a big deal due to all the new tools that came out of Amonkhet. So there's a lot of Commander decks right now playing those. If you're trying to build a -1/-1 Commander deck, I might wait another month or so and let the hype sort of subside a little bit, and then maybe think about picking up the pieces, because there's a lot of inflated cards right now that play with -1/-1 counters. Coming in number 3, Snapcaster Mage. This is from the Modern Masters 2017 set, up $1.30 to $48.99. And the key cards to Modern Masters 2017, for the most part, with maybe one exception, still continue to be hot, still continue to climb, even if it's slowly. I'm thinking of Snapcaster, Liliana, Cavern of Souls, and the fetch lands. Tarmogoyf has softened a little bit, and even though it's not on our list today, it has gone down a little bit. You can pick those up for $80, sometimes even less. That's a big win for players who have been waiting a long time to get that card, and it's been priced at over $100. But other than Tarmogoyf, all the other key cards, the ones I just mentioned, are still pretty hot. Coming in at number 2, Leyline of Sanctity. This is the Modern Masters 2015 version, up $1.42 to $22.99. Just continues to be a very, very hot card in Modern sideboards. Great against burn strategies, obviously, but what's really being played for right now is it's a counter to some of the discard strategies like Thoughtseize. And coming in at number 1 is Chalice of the Void from Meriden. Like I mentioned earlier, this is up $1.54 to $69. So yes, this card, a little bit unique this week. One version going down in value, one version going up in value. Just seems like a little bit of an anomaly. But for the most part, it just shows the strength of this card for sure. Alright, let's move on to Legacy. And even Legacy feels a little bit slow this week in the market, although you'll see at least one card here, like I mentioned earlier, that's definitely affected by the leaks we saw this week. Coming in at number 5 for cards that lost value is Jihad, down $6.60 to $27.74. This saw a nice little spike a few weeks ago, so it's stabilizing down. It's still a good card for 93-94 format, though, if that's something you're interested in. Number 4 is Living Plane, down $9.24 to $138.75. This is snapping back a little bit from a recent increase, but overall this card's gone up quite a bit over the last year or two. Coming in number 3 is Jizam Jin, down $15.22 to $467.46. Seems to hang around the $500 price point. Number 2, Force Field, down $17 to $160.19. Of course, this is the unlimited version. And finally, Badlands from Unlimited. Huge loss this week, down $72.94 to $140.60. It seems like all the value this card's gained over the last 2-3 weeks all just went away. So maybe this was a mini buyout. Maybe there was someone out there picking up Badlands because they are the cheapest of the dual lands, and then perhaps they just went ahead and sold them right back into the market, made some quick cash. So, having said that, though, Badlands, I mean, still a good card to invest in if you're looking to maybe pick up any sort of dual land. It's still expensive at this price point even, but it is the cheapest one out there, and if you want to own a dual land for your collection, this is the most affordable one. Alright, let's look at the cards that have gained value this week. Coming in, number 5 is Armageddon from Unlimited, up $11.24 to $49.95. And this is kind of normal stabilization for this card, but again, another card that is pretty good at 93-94 format. Number 4, Zerlin of the Claw. And this is a Tempest card. It's a reserve list card. And it's up this week $11.99 to $14.99. You can probably imagine why. Of course, we saw leaks this week as to some of the contents of the Commander 2017 Dragon deck. They look pretty legit. So it's got a lot of people thinking about Dragon cards. And especially a reserve list card like this makes sense that this is heating up really quickly. So it's one to keep an eye on as we go forward in the future. I would imagine this is going to snap back a little bit, though. Coming in at number 3 is City of Brass, up $21.28 to $121.95. Of course, this is the Arabian Nights version, another great 93-94 format card, but also Arabian Nights cards, especially the rares and some of the classic ones, are really hot right now with collectors. Coming in number 2, Volcanic Island from Unlimited, up $25.02 to $424.97. And finally, Gauntlet of Might from Unlimited of 46.47 to 225. This card actually lost a lot of value a couple months ago, just kind of out of nowhere, so it felt like maybe it was part of a buyout. But since then, it has quickly gone back up again, and I feel like part of that could have been maybe there was a buyout, but the buyout drew attention to the low price point once it got sold back into the market, and now the card's going back up again. Sometimes that tends to happen. Another card, though, that is very good in 93-94 format, so you do want to pay mind to that as well. All right, having said that, those are the cards for today. So a little bit slower in the market this week, and I'm interested to see what's going to happen this summer as we continue on. I think Commander is going to be the format of the summer. I mean, once we get into the end of August, we're going to get those Commander decks. There's going to be hype around those, obviously, really for the whole month of August. And then folks are going to start thinking about holiday gifts and stuff like that for the fall. I think this is going to be the summer Commander. I honestly do. So we'll have to kind of wait and see what happens to Standard, especially if they decide to ban anything else going forward. And can the format survive? The power behind this Temur Aetherworks deck right now seems to be turning a lot of people down on Standard yet again. So there's a lot of questions out there, and that doesn't even begin to cover the iconic Masters reveal we're going to see in September too after the summer's over. So a lot going on. Continue to keep a close eye on the market. But until next time, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.